The bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. The opening kickoff is brought to you by our friends at Kickoff Coffee Co., specialty coffee made by soccer fans for soccer fans. And as we're getting ready for the show this morning, and I'm going through all the news updates and everything going on, we're like, all right, well, there's not a ton to get into. We got the Finalissima tomorrow. We got World Cup playoff tomorrow. Okay, that's cool. We got the transfer rumors, stuff like that. Dylan Butler's going to join us at 9:30. That's always a fun conversation. And then Charlotte just answered my thoughts of, what am I going to talk about in the opening kickoff? I guess thank you, Charlotte. Miguel Ángel Ramírez is not saying thank you. He was relieved of his duties this morning. The announcement was that he was informed by sporting director Zorn Cornetta and president Joe LeBeau that he will not continue as the head coach of Charlotte FC. Assistant coach Christian Latanzio will serve as the interim head coach for the remainder of the 2022 season. Quote from owner David Tepper: "This is a difficult decision, but one we feel is best for the team at this time. I want to thank Miguel and his staff for their hard work during our first season and wish them the best in their future endeavors." Okay. Here's my reaction to this. Let's go back to that fateful week before the opener where Ramirez is asked about what the expectation should be for the season. And he said, paraphrasing, this is, we got to complete the roster. It's not complete. After the roster is complete, then I can have some thoughts about it. But right now we are blank. Depending on your translation and how PG-13 you want to be, you can fill that in with a few different things. Screwed seemed to be the general thing that was used. When that happened and we stopped laughing, what came up on my end, one of the thoughts that I had about it was, that sounds like maybe somebody who is protecting themselves in case things go sour. The roster build was horrible. I'm sorry, there's no way around it. I don't care what the results are. The roster build for a manager who wants to play a 4-3-3, having one winger in the team, horrible. Horrible. There's no way to paint over that. The results have been not horrible. The results have been surprisingly good. At home, very, very good. 16 points, 5 wins in 14. 8 losses, 1 draw. Goal differential, it's -5. They had a 1-0 lead in Seattle, gave up 2 late goals. Been there, done that. Everybody's seen how that goes. I'm completely and utterly shocked at this on the surface. I don't know anything going on behind the scenes. There's got to be something going on behind the scenes because on the surface, none of this makes any sense. Bad roster, better results than expected, and he's let go. If you can draw the A plus B plus C that equals fired in that scenario, more power to you. My algebra didn't go that high. I don't know what Charlotte is doing because we've talked about the roster consistently. It's better now. They've made. I like Josviak. I like Vargas. I like some of the additions they've made. Kalina ends up being a great signing. Wasn't sure about that one. That's been an outstanding signing. He's been bailing them out a lot of times. Christian Fuchs, not so much. I think the less he plays, the better off they'll be. Father Time, undefeated, right? Kalina has been really the biggest piece here. And how long can you ride that? I get it. That's not a tenable solution to this. But it's not on Ramirez. There's got to be something big behind the scenes. Or the A plus B plus C equation then has to include maybe D, E, F, G, H, I, and maybe a couple more letters. I have not kept track of all of the people who have left Charlotte FC at this stage in their first season. Front office people. highly ranked front office people in a variety of roles, including technical director. Maybe when you add up all of that, you just have to wonder what's going on. Everything from the outside, attendance, very good. Atmosphere, very good. Venue, love it. Branding, great. Some good signings in the mix. And Miguel Ángel Ramírez has made it work. And he's the one who takes the fall. Like, there's no need for even a fall. It's year one. Charlotte, I talked about this yesterday in the points per game scenario. When you look at, since Atlanta United came in, that was really the topic of conversation. Atlanta United, since they came into the league at the beginning of 2017, 5th in points per game. You want to know where Charlotte is. They've only played a handful of games, but you want to know where Charlotte ranks. 16th out of 28 in their expansion year in points per game. They have better points per game right now since 2017. A whole lot better than Cincinnati, who hasn't even averaged a point a game, even with what they're doing this year. Better than Miami. Miami had a better roster to begin with. Ramirez has done a better job with a lesser roster in Charlotte. Better than DC over the last 5.5, 5.25, 5.33 seasons. Better than Orlando. Better than Chicago. Better than Austin's points per game. Yeah, Austin's been great this season. They were not great last year. Better than their points per game. Better than Houston. Better than San Jose. Better than Colorado's points per game since 2017. It's crazy. Crazy. What he has done with nothing to work with to begin with. Insane. Absolutely insane. I don't know. There's got to be stories coming out on this, right? There's got to be conversation about this because none of it makes any sense. We'll talk to Dylan Butler about it here in just a bit. We're going to get the guys' thoughts on it. But before we jump into that, sorry, Kickoff Coffee. I got a little riled up. KickoffCoffeeCO.com is where you can place your order. Use the promo code soccer down here 15. You will get 15% off. And remember that Kickoff Coffee donates 10% of their proceeds to youth development organizations that use soccer to better the lives of kids. Awesome organization. Highly recommend it. Follow them on all your social media channels. But KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Soccer down here 15 is your code to use. Jarrett, I know you're going to leave us and then come back, but what's think about our friends up I-85?
I don't know what to think about our friends up I-85 because I don't know what they're doing.
I'm baffled.
Man, it's got to be something that we're just not seeing every day.
I mean, what can it be?
I don't know, but it's got to be something along those lines because yeah, you've gotten some damn good results. You went and lost in Seattle this week. Okay, congratulations. Everyone goes and loses.
Yeah,
it was Seattle after dark.
Yeah.
There's black magic involved, man.
Yeah, he wasn't fired for that game.
No, of course not.
That's what I don't know what he was fired for, but it definitely wasn't that game.
I mean,
they won the week before.
Well, and here's my thing. Here's my thing about that. It's okay. Tell me. It's there's disagreements between the front office and him. Okay, who in the front office? Because the front office is rotated like a merry-go-round.
Zorn Cornetta is the only one who's been there from the beginning, and the owner David Tepper.
It's like playing Clue with only
the CEO has changed, the technical director has changed. Zorn Cornetta and the owner. That's the people.
It's like playing Clue, but only having Professor Plum and Colonel Mustard on the board.
Like Plum or Mustard?
I don't know. It depends on how you feel about them.
I think Ramirez is Mustard. Actually,
it's wild. Like if there's issues, like man, it's pretty narrowed down to who it could be. But I mean, this is like a very much a call coming from inside the house, look within kind of moment. I feel like for Tepper Sports because of everything that's gone on this year. Because this felt like the bright spot. Like,
yep.
Okay, that roster was incomplete. I was just talking to somebody on Twitter about it that roster was incomplete, but you got this far. You were 5-8-1. Atlanta was 5-6-3, 5-6-2, 5-6-3, excuse me. Atlanta was 5-6-3 over the same time in 2017. You were 5-8-1 after 14 games. Get to the summer window, talk to him and say, hey, what do you need? And he'll tell you. I can't imagine he wouldn't very bluntly tell you what he needs.
There's that.
But you made it this far. Like, you got to this international break. You're close to that summer window where you could have built on it.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who was getting some impressive results out of this. Yeah, I don't know. He was getting some impressive results out of an incomplete team and making the pieces work and looking at it from different angles and getting some good stuff out of it. And yeah, like, Kirill Swiderski's slowed down for the most part. I believe he had the free kick that hit the post that ended up being Ben Bender's goal.
Yep.
In Seattle, which was good for Swiderski. Probably needs the boost to, like, just in the same thing we've talked about with Atlanta players in the past. Just see the ball go in the net. He got damn close to it and ended up setting a great free kick, ended up setting up a goal for Bender to tap in. But you want to get him going. You've brought in Rios, who's good. Shinyashiki's been great since he got there. Like, things have been going in the right direction. I know we've talked about the build as a whole, but they've started adding to it the way they needed to. And now, what do you do? Like, you handing the project over to? I know you're handing the project over to an assistant, and I'm sure they'll do a full head coach search and bring in somebody, soon. I would imagine sooner rather than later.
No. They said in the statement they're not bringing in
they?
somebody. Enter him for the rest of the year.
Okay, well, get the coaching search right in the offseason then. If you're going to wait that long, man,
they got bigger issues, man. I don't. It's not about that. Like, that's not the issue. Having the right kind of coaching search is not the issue, because they ended up with a great hire in Miguel Ángel Ramírez,
yes,
who has done a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's,
and they've let him
to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they let him go, so something's gone wrong. But
I mean, in terms of on-field performance,
he's done a very good job. I mean, let's slow down. He's done a very good job. I mean, he doesn't have a great roster. He didn't have it to start at all. He's done a very good job. There's obviously things behind the scenes. I mean, there's no other explanation for it, and it is going into the break. So if you're going to do it, this would be the time to do it. You're not going to wait any longer to do it. You didn't do it because of Sunday. You'd already made up your mind. Now, if they won that game in Seattle, would they have gone through with it? That would have been fascinating to see how that would have played out. But they'd already made up their mind. I mean, I don't know how you justify it, because they're going to have to give more than that statement. And I don't know what it is, because when you go back and you look at the numbers, and I gave you the points per game, where of all the teams that are in the league right now, going back to 2017, they have the 16th best points per game currently. Now, I know they've only got 13 games. That was before Sunday's game finished. So it's probably a little bit less than that. But the start, can go back and look, and I was actually trying to pull it up because it had been mentioned in Opta before, of comparing their start to other expansion team starts. It is one of the best ever. Man, I wish I could have found it. It must be further back that they did it. It was, in terms of wins, I think, at this stage of the season, there were only 2 or 3 expansion teams who had more ever, like including Chicago ever, like 98 ever. And you're going to let him go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had the cojones to come out at the beginning of the season and say that his roster was bad. He did that. That probably didn't make people happy. But at some point, don't you have to, I don't know, get over yourself and let the man cook, because you hired him to do that. He wasn't wrong in what he said. And if, I don't know, judging from some of the previous people who were directly connected to Charlotte FC and are now overseeing that from a higher up position, and the way that they would get very defensive on the Bird app in the middle of the night. Yep. Maybe some people need to grow up a little bit and be able to handle real talk. Because what Miguel Ángel Ramírez said before the season started, I mean, I'm nobody, but I was saying it since the expansion draft because they weren't doing anything. The roster build was atrocious, absolutely atrocious, and he got something out of it before he even got some of the reinforcements. Full credit to what he did. And if people can't handle what he said publicly, again, maybe he definitely could have been more tactful. Yeah, he could have avoided saying it. Absolutely, he could have. But you think he wasn't frustrated at that point? Now, did players have a problem with him? There's been a lot of players who've said incredible things about him. So, look, that happens with every coaching situation you have. Some guys like it, some guys don't. Guys who are on the outside who aren't getting playing time, probably not a big fan of his, right? Guys who are getting that playing time probably love the guy. That's typical. That's sports. Nothing with that. But I don't know what else it is outside of he rubbed some people the wrong way. I'm sure if that's what he said publicly, I'm sure he said other things privately. But was he wrong? No. If you don't like what he said, maybe you could have given him more to work with at the beginning of the season. And he still has had one of the better starts in MLS expansion history, and he was let go. That's shocking. And, I don't get it. I don't know what's next. We'll see how it goes with Christian Latanzio. He was an assistant with New York City from 2016 to 18, technical coordinator for Manchester City's elite development squad from 13 to 15. He was an assistant with Patrick Vieira at Nice, has worked with Fabio Capello and Gianfranco Zola and Roberto Mancini. He was brought in to be an assistant as part of Ramirez's staff. He's the one who's going to stay. I do not believe he has any first team coaching experience. I don't know. I'm blown away. Like I will tell you my reaction. So like I've got my MLS list on the Bird app that I will go to as we get into the probably half hour or so before we're going to start the show, and I'm figuring out some topics and things. And I always check that one because there's a lot of sites who do kind of a compilation of news stories in the morning. And that story came up from Charlotte FC. I thought it was a joke account. I thought it was a joke account. Yeah. I thought it was a troll.
When you shared it with us, when you dropped it in the green room chat, I went and looked at the official account, punched it in manually to Twitter, checked the followers, checked the check mark, checked their history, checked everything. Like it's like this is nope, you're screwing with me. You have to be screwing with me.
It's that shocking of a news drop this morning that I did not think it was from a real account. Mm-mm. I'm like, is there a 0 where there's supposed to be an O? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah.
And no, it's real. And it's just, the only thing I keep coming back to is he really upset some people with what he had to say before the season and probably what he said privately. And this was their opportunity to make the move. And they did. And they didn't really care about what results he had already gotten. They'd made that decision. I'm very fascinated to see how the rest of the year goes.
Yep.
I'm very fascinated to see how some of the guys that he brought in that he wanted to bring in feel about this. I'm very interested to see how the guys who've been playing a lot and playing hard for him, how they going forward. That's a big situation for Latanzio to step into and have to manage. But I don't get what's going on up there at all. And they've been able to somehow get through it with some pretty decent results. And I still don't get what's going on up there at all. No clue. This is crazy.
When money and ego are involved above the head coaching position, and you have a guy who is saying from moment one, we're blanked. As David Tepper came into this with Charlotte FC, all of the bluster and the bombast and calling folks out and calling out Atlanta and they're our rivals and all this kind of stuff. You don't want to hear. It's the thing where I don't want excuses. I just want results. With Miguel Ángel Ramírez, you got results with a build that was flawed. And with everyone in the front office that left, that should have told you something about the structure internally of the front office of Charlotte FC, and probably where a lot of the conversation and the finger pointing is coming from. To me, it's top down. And when you have a guy who's consistently telling you, we need this, we need this, we need this, and from all external ideas and press conferences and stuff, you have a guy like David Tepper. He didn't want to hear that, even if there's logic attached to it. And for me, it's just continuing to bang on an idea and bang on an idea and bang on an idea, and you just get tired of hearing it, regardless of whether he's right or not, which Miguel Ángel Ramírez is and was. And you're just like, nope, I'm done with you. This to me seems like it was along that idea of a rash decision, because you're tired of hearing the same guy tell you the same things, even if he's right. And because you have all of this money and power that's attached to it, and this is your new baby, and I'm doing it my way. If it's not my way and you don't want to do it my way, then you're gone.
So, okay, here's more to this. And God, there's been so much craziness going on in Charlotte. I honestly forgot this part. So February 1st, Tom Glick, who was brought in to launch the soccer team, had plenty of soccer experience, brought in as the president of Tepper Sports to launch the soccer team. He stepped down as president of Tepper Sports February 1st. Nick Kelly moved up from president of Charlotte to CEO of Tepper Sports. He left May 6th, and he hasn't tweeted anything.
Yeah.
He left May 6th, and on May 7th, he retweeted like a Charlotte tweet, and that's it. No comments, no nothing. Now Ramírez is gone. You add that to Mark Nichols leaving for Columbus in January.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a communications person left after the first week. I think the head of communications, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that, but somebody in the communications department that was pretty heavily involved. It's chaos. I don't get it. Maybe Dylan Butler will get it. We'll see if he does. Jarrett, are you going to join us in the second hour while we still try to figure this out?
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to see what else I can find.
Okay.
Yo, shout out, by the way. I do want to say this because we talked about this with Atlanta. Y'all be kind about, especially y'all start treating it Charlotte. The people who put this stuff out that run social media, they don't make these decisions. Don't be a dick.
Yes.
I'm not even joking at this point. Don't be a dick to the people who do that, because that will wear on your mental health, having to read people being jerks to you all day.
Because they didn't make the decision.
No, they didn't make the decision. I'll see y'all later.
See ya. Oh boy, this is chaos. Thought it was going to be a fun, relaxing Tuesday as we look at, what happened over the weekend. We got a little bit of a break, and Dylan, Charlotte has to go and drop some bombas this morning.
They certainly did. We haven't even spoken yet, but I just assume that all three of us are in this same boat of shock. Right.
I thought it was a fake account. I seriously saw the tweet and I was like, this is a fake account. This is not real. Oh my gosh, it's real.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for the last 50 minutes, right? Because that's kind of when it's hit our emails. Here's my only theory that I can kind of put out there, right? Well, I mean, the timing of it is the international break, right? So you have this window now of Latanzio and just sort of getting everything together and getting on the training pitch and maybe working on some new ideas or the same ideas. We're not sure, right? But at least you have some time in the transition. But the only thing I can think of is Ramírez has certainly been outspoken, right, at times about maybe some frustration at not being able to land some of the targets that he's wanted. We're getting close to a transfer window opening again, right? Like summer. So maybe there's some talks going into June, and maybe I don't know. Maybe those talks were heated. Again, this is all just assuming and just guessing, right? But I can't think that it's expectations of on the field stuff, right? Because they've been pretty good there. So there had to have been some sort of a blow up or something to that effect, I would think.
Actual blow up, yeah.
Yeah, that maybe they just said enough is enough. And they parted ways. But like 14 games into an expansion season is unheralded, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, at least
to be where they are.
Was given a year, and then Patrick Vieira came in, right?
Yeah, and to be where they are, like, you know, you go back to it's been one of our favorite topics, but you go back to Minnesota 13 games in, 14 games in. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still there now.
He's still there. Even after Union Omaha loss.
Yeah, he's still there.
A lot like been changed that moment on
if there was another
home.
If there was another move like to happen today, that would have been where my money was, not this. But I mean, then you got to go back to this, Dylan, and it's been brought up, you know, by plenty of people. Mark Nichols left in January, went to Columbus.
Yes. Yep.
Tom Glick stepped down as president of Tepper Sports February 1st. Nick Kelly goes from the club to Tepper Sports, and then he leaves at the beginning of May, very quietly, just out the door after being very outspoken throughout his time with Charlotte. He hasn't said a word since he left. Mm-mm. And now Ramirez is sacked. I mean, none of this. There's been other people too. Like I know there was at least somebody in the comm side who left after the first week. Comms are digital, and it's just like,
yeah. I mean, look, we're not. I mean, you know, it's one thing to even talk about the football side of things and the on field. Like, we're only privy to seeing match day, right? But like, even all this behind the scenes, we're not there, right? We're not on the inside, so. It's all speculation at this point, but yeah, crazy.
When you pile it all together and it is like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because you take any of those individually and you're kind of like, whoa, okay, this is weird, because that was the reaction when Glick stepped down, when Kelly moved up and then stepped down. Like, it was like, whoa, what? Nichols? I mean, I remember the reactions to Mark Nichols going to Columbus. It's like, why? Where's he going? Why?
Yeah.
And now, I mean, when this comes up and there is no logical, obvious reason, you know, it's not bad form on the field. You have to go back to all of that and say, what is going on here? This is strange.
Yeah. And again, from the 20,000, feet in the air sort of vantage point, everything looked pretty good, right?
Yeah,
like,
it has.
You're getting attendance, there's a good buzz in the community. You're playing pretty well, right? It's a good start for the club. You've got opportunities to get some guys in the next window and make some moves. And I don't know. It's crazy.
But I mean, and Jason, you mentioned it with Glick and Kelly and all the staffing that goes away. And now Miguel Ángel Ramírez, to me, the only direction I can point is up. Because if you have all that administration go, and now you have something on the sporting side go, the only other place I can point is up. And that to me means David Tepper. And Tepper had enough. And like I said, this is just conjecture.
There's two people that have been there that would be above the manager, and it's Zorn Cornetta and David Tepper. Like, that's all that's left. It was Jessica O'Neill, Dynamic Foxtrot, had it replying to Tom Bogert. Jessica O'Neill was the director of marketing communications for a year and then became president of the Houston Dash in March. So that was the other one I was trying to come up with. That's the two people. It's Cornetta and it's Tepper who are above Ramirez, and those two have been consistent. And it's like, okay, now what? You're going to have an interim for the rest of the year in Christian Latanzio, who has a great track record but has no first team experience.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Christian. Like,
know him, yeah,
I do. Yeah, under Vieira and his time at New York City. So, great guy. Really, really savvy football minds. It's always sort of, I'm glad that he gets an opportunity, right? And I hope that he could, I expect that he'll grab it with both hands and do a really good job.
it's still stunning. You look at this, and everything to me just points to David Tepper saying, I'm tired of this guy, chirping in my ear, regardless of what the results are. You're in an office, take your stereotypic office. And there's always that guy, if you're the CEO or the guy in the corner office, there's always that guy that's going to poke his head in the office. Hey, boss, what if we do this? Okay, whatever. Hey, comes in the next day. Hey, boss, what if we do this? He's the guy constantly sending you emails. He's in the right about trying to improve your business, but you just get to that point where you're tired of hearing from him. You're tired of hitting delete. You can't hit mute on the company email, and you're just like, no, I'm done. I'm out. And so,
well, I mean, I'll take that, John. I'll take that even a step further. That same guy is the one speaking to the press every day, right? Like he's the one who's the face of the franchise, if you will, right? Because he's the guy who's the most high profile guy in that case, right? So that's like, I don't know, the
like
White House press secretary, like every day being like, we're screwed, like I don't know if we want to have that message.
Yeah, I mean, he said it one time. I think since he's been pretty good. And I mean, when he said it, look, I thought in a way he might have been protecting himself a little bit of tempering expectations of, we're going to struggle here and it's not on me. And I can't really blame him for that because the roster build was bad. I mean, we went through it. It wasn't very good. But here's the other thing that's weird is normally when you have an owner who has multiple teams, you see some consistency across the teams. Matt Rule has won 5 games in each of the last 2 seasons for the Carolina Panthers.
There's consistency.
There's no consistency. No, because
I think you're saying they're consistently bad.
but Ramirez has won the same number of games and he gets fired.
Yeah.
That's not consistent. You're keeping somebody who hasn't done anything.
Because Matt doesn't complain openly to the media or probably bang on your door short of the draft.
Well, if that's the case, then you're probably in the wrong business. Or you're going to have to hire somebody who is not going to be able to get you as much as Ramirez did with a bad roster build. Maybe the bad roster builds are the consistent thing across Tepper Sports. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like super interested now to see the direction that they go. Just from a tactical standpoint, right? Because he had a very specific way of playing. He brought in guys who he had coached or managed before, or who were familiar with that system. So do you blow up the system and start anew with these guys? I mean, that could be disaster, right?
I mean, the good thing is, like, the roster build was so bad that he really wasn't able to get to the system very much until the very end. So, I mean, he was playing a 4-4-2 diamond for a while to get results, and he never played a 4-4-2 diamond. So at least it's not super ingrained. And my guess from just looking at Lattanzio's CV, I think he can work within whatever they were working on in training. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic shift. I mean, he's going to want to play. He's going to want to have the ball. Same things that I think Ramirez believed in. He'll probably have some tweaks to it for sure. But my bigger thing is what's next. Is Lattanzio going to be somebody who gets the job long-term because he's not going to make waves? Or are they going to hire somebody who doesn't make waves? Because that seems to be the only thing here that is different across any of this. Because none of the other people, by the way, and this needs to be said just in case people are running with narratives, Glick didn't get fired. Kelly didn't get fired. O'Neal didn't get fired. Nichols didn't get fired. They left. They stepped down. Ramirez got fired. Like, that's a different scenario here. And Ramirez was the outspoken one. So if that is it, that's going to affect what they do next at the coaching position, Dylan. They're not going to hire somebody who's going to be outspoken.
All right, so Jose off the
board for sure.
Bring in Big Sam.
Big Sam's pretty outspoken.
But he does that everywhere. I mean, right? He'll be chewing those. What does he get? Like the cashews or something? And he's just
Oh man. I'm baffled. I think that the biggest thing that I'm looking at with this is there's gonna be things said. If Ramirez is outspoken, as we know he is, I don't think he's just gonna walk away quietly. And I don't think some of the players that he brought in are probably going to be happy. this is going to get weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. You wonder if, often in these things, there's a, you got to sign a non-disclosure kind of a thing. And
if he's getting money, yes. If he just got fired,
100%. Yeah.
Then, and even then, man, South American media, they will find ways around non-disclosure agreements.
Maybe that's why Kelly hasn't said anything on Twitter.
Well, Kelly left again. He didn't get fired. He left, so it's a different conversation. Ramirez might not be able to say anything publicly, but I don't know. Maybe over a cerveza at a cafe, he might speak very loudly with someone else at a table within earshot. Who knows? I mean, it's crazy. This is going to get so weird, in my opinion, because it doesn't make any sense, and people are going to try to make sense of it.
Yeah, I'd imagine the reaction by Atlanta United fans are pretty.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just judging from some of the reactions I got to my tweet about it. Yeah. I mean, just a few, crazy to do something like that in your first season. Yeah. This is wild. Yeah. Oh no, they're about to become FC Cincinnati, aren't they? Man, they've been a whole lot better than Cincinnati in their first year. Actually, they've almost got as many points as Cincinnati had in their third year, let alone their first year. Could set them back by half a decade.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Well, it depends on what they do. I mean, that's the thing is, to me, and I think the roster has gotten better. They have made some moves after not making moves. It's better. I like Vargas. I like Josviak. I think you've got some nice pieces. I still have some questions. I still defensively don't think they're going to hold up. I don't think Kalina can stand on his head every game, all season. But it's better. But is it a good enough roster to expect results in the second half of the season? No, I don't think so. I think Ramirez got more out of it than he should have. And I have to give him that credit.
Sorry, Jason. That's the thing too now, right? Like, who are the targets in the summer, and who's targeting them now, right? Like, do you just erase the board now and start over again, or was there a consensus among those in the sporting department on the players that they were going after? Were they going after them because Ramirez? Like, I mean, there's so many questions now.
Well, and as word gets out, I mean, if you're a prospective coach and you're looking at all of these front office,
if you're a prospective player,
it's like if you're a coach or a player, why would you want to go to Charlotte with all of this upheaval that's gone on leading into a season and then 14 games into a season with a coach who's done really well with a build that has been substandard? I'm being nice. With a build that has been substandard, and he's worked with everything that he has been allowed to have. You get this. Why would you want to go to Charlotte now, seeing that they're going to fire their coach and have this kind of a whiplash decision after only 14 matches?
I would say it depends on the player that it is, right? Like, is it a young player looking for playing time, right? And like looking to get minutes they're not getting right now, and maybe up their CV, right? And use it as a platform to other things, like a lot of other players do, right? So I still think they can attract players. I don't know.
But if you're a coach and an agent and you're sitting there and you're looking at all this stuff, it's like, nah, man, I wouldn't recommend that gig.
Oh, it's gonna be weird, man. I'm guessing, and again, that's all we have to go on because this came out of nowhere. I'm guessing that you're going to see more players of the Zorn Carneta ilk and less of the South American players that would have been connected in some way to Ramirez. I think that's a safe assumption with what happens in the summer. Less of maybe it's more Eastern Europeans because we've seen, some success with it. We have. Kalina was a great signing. Nobody really knew what that was going to be. Great signing.
Right.
Swiderski he's been fine. I mean, I don't want to say he's been bad, but he's been fine. Slowed down a lot after a hot start. Josviak, solid. Get him healthy, get him playing consistently, solid. Is it going to be more in that direction? Is the coach going to come from more that direction? I mean, I think if anything this does is it consolidates power with Zoran Corneta, and it will be his call going forward because Nick Kelly's not there. David Tepper seemingly is going with Corneta as opposed to Ramirez. If that's where heads were butted over things, then the sporting director is staying. I can't remember his official title. If it's GM, sporting director of football, whatever. We know exactly what it is, roughly. He's going to be the one who's calling all the shots, and he's got all the power now because he's the last one standing.
Yeah, that's after the shootout at the OK Corral. Yeah, he's the one.
Everybody else walked out, and Ramirez, I guess, got shot at the OK Corral, and he's out now. So, and it comes off of a pretty decent game for them in Seattle, where they didn't fire him because of the Seattle game. What if they'd actually won that game? Would they have still gone through with this?
That would have been even funnier.
Oh, that would have been really wild. There'll be plenty of stuff about Ramirez. We'll keep talking about it as we go this morning, and I'm sure things will come out. But I do want to get into what happened over the weekend with you a bit. LA Galaxy kind of went nuts on Austin. Took them a while, but they kind of went nuts by the end of that. A big 4-1 win.
Yeah, listen, it's kind of remarkable what a derby win will do for you, right, in the Open Cup, and it feels like they just rode that momentum from beating LAFC and beating them pretty handily as well, right? In that match in the Open Cup, and you hear Greg Vanney talk about the speed that they want to play with, and they can play with, especially with their wingers. And then sort of how that helps Chicharito not only get space, but then he's also really good at creating space. And when they can get forward and they can play that they want to play. And Vanny said, we haven't, we're very good in transitional moments, but we haven't seen a lot of that this year. We're seeing more of it now. And these past two results have been very good. I harp back on it a lot, but it's true, certainly of Vanny's LA right now. Where will the consistency be, right? Like, is this now going to go from 2 really good results to 6 to 7, or is it going to be 2 losses, a 0-0, a nick a 1-0 win? Like, where is it going? Where is it going from here? Right. So I think definitely back-to-back really good results for them.
And at the same time, you've got 2 of the older clubs. Once again, they've been consistent talking points so far with us this season. Portland comes up with a loss, having to go from one end of the country to the other. A good 3 points for Inter Miami, winning 2-1. And then you've got Sporting coming off of Open Cup, and they lose at home to Vancouver. So once again, you've got the 2 clubs kind of showing their age is a consistent factor so far this season that we've been talking about out west.
Yeah, not again, not a good look from Sporting, and we're still a few weeks away, and we've got time to kind of talk about this, but man, at this point, like, you almost feel like they've got to put all their eggs into the Open Cup basket, right? Because that's their best opportunity to 1, win something, and 2, get to the Champions League. And they've got Union Omaha, right, waiting, and they've already knocked off 2 MLS teams. They're looking to do a third at Sporting as well. So, we've talked about it before, and we've said that Vermes is going to have to go with his youth, and he has, right? He's gone to some of the young players, and he's shown that ability to maybe not be as rigid as he's been, or we've thought he's been. But yeah, unless they have some sort of remarkable Sounders-esque push in the second half of the season, they punt on the regular season and they go for it in the Open Cup.
So I didn't think you were going to go in that direction, John, with your next question. If you wanted to go dumpster fire, we could have went straight to Minnesota.
True. Adrian Heath
he's still there. New York City did have to suffer a little bit, but they got the win. New York City's only dropped 2 points since the end of their CCL run. They have not lost since that. They're the hottest team in the league. Minnesota made them work, but still, Adrian Heath has a job and Miguel Ángel Ramírez doesn't.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, I don't.
Well, I mean, too, but it's like, look, he's another one who's always very outspoken, right? And but it's never inward, right? Like it's
correct.
It's like, oh, I gave these guys a chance to show something. They're not showing it. I guess they're not going to get a chance. Or you media, you're always saying we're not going to be good. Like, dude, enough. How about what you're doing, right? Like, it's not good enough. And there's another situation too where I feel like he's got kind of everything. Like, you talk about showcasing, right, to players. He's got so much there to showcase, right? Like an unbelievable stadium, right? Like a great situation, the fan base, like all these things to attract players and to get results. And again, I go back to just his either unwillingness or whatever you want to use the word of just not seemingly trusting young players, right? Like one thing, we've talked about it a bunch of times. There's different ways to build a club, right? You could do it with splashing cash. You could trust the hashtag, play your kids. But ultimately I think every team does have that aspect that they've got to have some sort of a system where those young players play, right? Even in the most expensive clubs. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't see that with them. And they're getting older and older. And what they do then is they trade those young guys and get them out of there and bring in older guys, right? Like I don't get the system there.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And you mentioned the young player side. I will share this and walk away. They've signed 4 homegrown players since the club started.
Combined minutes of what? 2?
Maybe not even. Fred Emmings.
Yeah, I know Way has been hurt.
Patrick Weah.
But he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, Aziel Jackson, who was a Red Bull product, and Devin Paddleford, who was signed this year. I know you know all of those guys and everything they do. Who? What?
Hayden Clark was one, right? See ya.
Yeah.
Mason Toy was promising, right? See ya. Yeah. Now he's been hurt. I get it, right?
Yeah, sure. He has. That's just the homegrown side, and it's bad. It's really bad. But again, he's still there. He's still kicking, Adrian Heath. I wanted to also get into Dallas because I think both of us were kind of on the, hey, look at what Dallas is doing. Then they lose 2 in a row, and I backed off. And then they go to Orlando and kind of knocked Orlando around a little bit. Paul Arriola is killing it in Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, I probably should have included him. Just did a piece for OSDB Sports about guys who in this national team camp have the most to gain or most to show, right? The funny thing is I don't think I included him because I almost feel like he's secure. And maybe he's not. Maybe that's just, seeing what he's doing. But I think he's performing so well for Dallas. He's raised his level so high that, yeah, I just feel like he's a lock. It's strange to say, but I feel like he's a lock almost at this point for Qatar. Now, his issue has always been injury, right? So he's got to stay healthy, obviously, which is, we just obviously get the news yesterday about Mihailovic, just gutted for him. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, but the window, there's not many windows, right? There's 3, I think, before Qatar. So
not even. I think it's kind of
2.5 almost, right? Like
it's double really, one now and then September. That's it.
Yeah. So he doesn't have much more of a window to showcase. This would have been a perfect opportunity for him. So you really feel for him, but On the flip side, Arriola's been great. He's a guy who, maybe it's the new environment, maybe it's better teammates around him, fitting the system, being healthy, all of the above. But he's played really, really well. Definitely, at this point, you could make the argument as a best 11 right now for the way that he's played. On my list, by the way, that I had on that article, I had who did I have? I had Aaron Long because of the Miles Robinson injury, right? Like, not so much trying to play himself on, but play himself into the 11 kind of thing. Right. I think again, his spot would be secure, but playing time will be a big thing for him. I had Mihailovic obviously just before the injury. Haji Wright, I'm really interested in, right? Like, he has been red hot in his form, and Berhalter's talked about form and how important that is. And he's played consistently, especially down the stretch in Turkey. So want to see him. And Joe Scally was my fourth, who he had a bright start in the Bundesliga for Mönchengladbach, and then didn't play as much down the stretch of the season. But this is a young kid, a right back, and that's a position too I think you need depth in for this roster. So I feel like he's a guy who can really show himself. And Berhalter said he's going to play minutes. He didn't get that opportunity last time he was called up for qualifiers in November, but he'll get minutes now. And now it's up to him to do something with those minutes. Sorry to kind of hijack the
No, that's the other big story right now with MLS taking a break. It's the national team, and 2 Nations League games, 2 friendlies. How much can you get out of this? I think there are some storylines that are interesting. One other one is somebody like Sean Johnson, who Sean is probably not going to start by the time you get there, although he might be the only one who's playing consistently by the time we get to the World Cup. But what he's done with NYC here lately, I think he's kind of taken the number 3 spot for now and done a good job with that. He should be looked at the same as anybody else in that spot right now.
Yeah, I think what's key with him is he's that great veteran presence in the locker room that you don't really have, right? Like, you would say a Yedlin is that guy, and Yedlin has really, of anybody there, he's actually got World Cup experience, right? So that's a guy who is super valuable for them. But then right after that, I think is Johnson, who, we've heard Berhalter talk about it before, and he's had him in to every camp really, except he wasn't going to be in this one, and then he went in. But he's been in there because of that veteran leadership that he provides, and at the training ground. And I mean, look, if you're going to your number 3 in the World Cup, generally speaking, you're feeling like, we're screwed, right? To
bring it full circle.
But I don't think so with Sean, right? Because of the way, as you said, the way that he's been playing, right? And the way, I mean, look at that Minnesota game, right? They NYCFC was playing the way they wanted to play. They were knocking the ball around. They were playing some great football. And then they did need a few saves late, and he came up with them, right? So he's got that ability. We know what he can do in the big matches, in the big situations. And in Berhalter's, what he wants to do as well, right? With having the keepers play it out. That's a much improved part of what he's done from 3 different managers who have asked him to do that now at NYCFC, right? So he's better at that certainly than Stefan is right now. So look, he's, to me, I think I would go with him as the 3rd because of all those intangibles that he brings, rather than like a Horvath,
Yeah, same. And then you get back to just the topic that we've had for a while, is with Turner going to Arsenal, with Stefan in the situation he's in at City. That's not time. Yeah, it's just not ideal. And those aren't the only 2 national team players who could be in search of playing time by the time we get to the start of the European seasons. Are you expecting any others to move? I mean, Pulisic has been mentioned, although seems like that's cooled down a bit with some of the conversation. McKennie could be the odd man out if Juventus goes to get Pogba and whoever else they might get that's over the age of 35. They like the old guys. Dest has been talked about with moves. I mean, you've got a bunch of guys who could be in different situations at the club level. Who needs to move, in your opinion?
Who needs to move? Good question.
And it could be a loan. It could be a short move, but.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot about Busio, right? And his situation with them being relegated. What happens there? Does he need now? The thing is about the unique situation, especially at the start of the European season, is guys need to be playing, right? So I don't think necessarily moving to a bigger club, i.e. the Turner situations, is what you're looking for. You're looking for, even if it's in Serie B, play, right? Play every day, get 90 minutes. So that's the different. That I think that's why we're going to see a lot of movement during this offseason, for not just for the U.S., but for anybody who's competing in the World Cup, because they need playing time, right? Like, it's vital. And if you're not getting it or not getting enough of it at your club, I think there'll be a lot of moves that'll be maybe even forced to get that.
Who was the most, and you can use this word however you want, who was the most intriguing call-up for you for this camp for the United States?
Most intriguing. I mean, I go back again to right, because that's a position that is still fluid, right? Like, you can't say it's Ferrar's, right? Because we thought it was Pepe's before, and it wasn't Pepe's. And like, there's been this little bit of a rotation there. I think Ferrar is the leader, certainly going into this camp, for what he's shown as well at Dallas. But I love that. I love that by Berhalter, and you heard him say it too. Like, guys are never ruled out. Like, he said too, like, look, you guys are all telling me about Brooks, and that's its own show that we can have on John Anthony Brooks. But he said even Brooks isn't like, we haven't closed the door on anybody, right? And I think Haji Wright is a perfect example of that. And I thought even Mihailovic was a good example of that too, where you can play yourself back in. And he's done that this year. So I'm really intrigued over these next few games to see what Haji Wright can do with the national team, right? Because he's still young. I mean, he's had this nomadic experience in Europe since, coming up through the LA Galaxy Academy, and then having a cup of coffee, if you will, with the Cosmos, right? Here. Covered him a little bit here as well. But also, what a great experience for him, right? He had Raul here and other, guys like Marco Senna, just to sort of just learn from on the training grounds. But I was super excited to see what he brings to the system, and can he play himself on? Because we know guys who are on the team, but I think there's a lot of spots that are there to be taken, right? There's a core, certainly, but at the 9, I think that's wide open. If not for the starter, certainly for the depth.
Yeah, the number 9 is definitely the most wide open. We'll see if we get any answers in the friendly tomorrow against Morocco, Sunday against Uruguay, and then we will reassess on Tuesday, and maybe we'll hear more about the ridiculousness in Charlotte going on by the time we get there as well. It's going to be a wild day in MLS Twitter circles, I can only imagine.
And then you got Salt Lake, Vancouver, right, as well. Isn't that coming up on the?
Yeah, we got one game. One of the hottest teams in the league, Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, give them the respect.
Right now. I give them their respect. I've doubted them, and they are number 4, I think, overall right now in the table, which is.
And listen, was that the 6th straight shutout? Not shutout. Sellout at Rio Tinto, and we've been there. For me, it doesn't have the bells and whistles maybe of some of the newer stadiums, right? But the view is incredible. And when that place gets going, I was there. I'm dating myself here, but I was there for that Western Conference final against the Red Bulls.
Oh wow!
Yeah. When the Red Bulls made that run with Osorio through the cup and lost to Columbus in LA, I was there. It was freezing cold that night, but like the atmosphere when it's packed and those fans are engaged and their team is playing well, it does provide one of the better atmospheres in MLS. So when the Riot gets going as they have right now and they got something to cheer about, it's a lot of fun.
Covering the Red Bulls at that time, you had former Atlanta Silverbacks legend Makumba Kanji in that team.
Vandenberg, I think Vandenberg scored the only goal in that game early, and then I think Salt Lake hit 37 posts.
Yeah.
Give or take, I'm not sure.
I do remember watching that, and it was ridiculous that the Red Bulls won that game.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
I actually ended up staying out there. Like I didn't, like it was, you know how it is with MLS Cup week, like things start early. So I'm like, do I fly back? That was a Saturday night. I'm like, do I fly back?
The final was in LA.
Yeah, I just stayed out there, man. I just, hung out with my boy Chris Wingert a little bit and had a nice meal with him and Beckerman and a couple of those guys, and it was good. It was good. Got this, nice clean air. Yeah. Out in Sandy, out in Salt Lake, and then went from there to LA.
Well, Salt Lake, if they beat Vancouver, which you would expect that they'll be favored to, they could be the number 2 team in the Supporters Shield race when we restart.
They're not right now, by the way. Early juice boxes have them as a road dog.
To Vancouver?
Uh-huh.
To Vancouver. Like the Whitecaps?
Yeah. Not like the Lenarduzzi bunch, but this current run right now. Vancouver is a plus 143 at home. RSL is a plus 190.
Vancouver at home has been pretty good as of late. I will give them that.
I do not recommend betting on MLS.
No, I also would highly.
That's my statement. That's all.
Yeah, I would put that disclaimer out there as well. Dylan, thank you for the time. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, boys.
Be good.
Make sure you follow him at Dylan_Butler on the social media platforms. John, tell us about our good friends over at Eliminize.
I can certainly do that. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminize service. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Eliminize service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment. We like that. We like green ways of going about things to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because when you take that masking agent out, you spray it in the air. That's why it's a masking agent. Masks the odor. Doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule, like Eliminize service does with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any kind of question, frequently asked or otherwise, here's what you do. You go to the website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are talking to them from. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. Proud sponsors of everything SDH work. Chaos reigns today in Charlotte. Thanks to our friends at Eliminize here at SDH.
Okay. That was
Chaos
weird.
reigns in Charlotte.
That was strange.
Yeah. Put the close before the close, and it turned out to be a false close, and then everything.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna have to get you shorter music because you just keep on going.
I thought I was going faster today than normal.
No, you added more stuff. You were going faster, and then you kept talking. So I mean, I'm looking to see if anybody is coming out with anything, revealing about what's going on in Charlotte. Not really. I mean, nobody's talking right now. I mean, just everybody's saying there's gonna be more, which yes, there's gonna be more because this doesn't make any sense. Players have been generally pretty positive about him. Yeah, I'm sure that is not 100% across the board because that's always the case, that somebody's not going to be happy. Taylor Twellman brings up another good point. They don't have a training facility, and the Panthers start in 100 days. Mm-hmm. So I think they've been doing a decent bit of training at the stadium. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I don't know where the Panthers stand, because weren't they going to build a training facility and then they backed out of it?
Yeah, it was an $800 million training facility in Rock Hill, which is in South Carolina, just over the state line. Yeah. And because of disagreements that Tepper Sports and Entertainment were having with local authorities about power and water and all those kinds of infrastructure things, Tepper basically is just like, all right, we're stopping construction. And so right now it's, I guess, up for renegotiation and review. But yeah, right now there is this skeleton of a facility that has been built in Rock Hill, South Carolina, that hasn't been touched.
That will not be built
or finished.
Yeah, but I mean, so the skeleton, what does that mean? Like, have they done anything there?
Yeah, they have built some parts of the building,
but they've backed out of it.
Yeah, they basically backed out of it right now, and what construction has happened has stopped.
Well, yeah, if they backed out of it, of course it stopped. Somebody's got to pay for it. So, like, who owns the land? Like, Tepper, or is it a partnership deal? I mean, anyway, that's a whole nother issue. Maybe there's some threads here between all these issues. I'm just saying. Charlotte FC does have the Sportsplex at Matthews. That's where they've been training as well, alongside using the stadium. So again, that's a good point from Taylor Twellman. Like, that's another issue to deal with. You do have a club president now in Joe LeBeau, but Kelly, who got it started, gone. Glick, who got it started from the bigger picture, gone. Now Ramirez gone. Cornetta's still there, and I feel like if there's anything out of it that we've learned, it's that Zoran Cornetta is calling all of the shots in Charlotte going forward. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because the roster build was his purview, and it was not good. It's better. Again, I mean, you got to be fair. It's better now than it was, but the season started at the end of February, not now. And it's still not complete. Opta Jack on Twitter they had the thing that I was looking for. So 13 expansion teams since 2010. Charlotte's 16 points through 14 matches are the sixth most at this stage of an inaugural campaign. So 6 out of 13, right in the middle. I don't think any of the teams that have more points through the first 14 matches fired their coach. It doesn't fit unless there are bigger things behind the scenes, which we will definitely hear about, no matter what kind of agreements have been signed about not talking about it. People are going to talk about it. They will. There's just no way around it. No, that's not Charlotte's music. No. It's not Zoran Cornetta's music.
Peter and the Wolf. But I mean, with the Panthers, you have a coach who coaches, Matt Rule, and a GM who does the GM stuff. There's no in between.
What does that mean?
So when you have at Charlotte FC, when you have Miguel Ángel Ramírez who wants to cross the streams, that might not, by those above him, might be looked at as, stepping out of line. It's like,
well, then again, I'm sorry. First off, Miguel Ángel Ramírez is not making transfers happen. So no, if that's what is the problem, John, I'm sorry. If that's seriously what the problem is, David Tepper probably should have, I don't know, done some research into what soccer is like.
Mm-hmm.
Because no, as we've said many times, the coach isn't going out and making transfers. No matter what you think happens in a transfer situation, if it's a move you like, you don't get to say, oh, it's the coach I like, so he made the move. And if it's a move you don't like, oh, blame somebody else. No, that's not how any of this works. It's other people making it. The coach has input, just like they do here. And if he's given input and they're been out of shape about his input, then you should probably not be in the business. Cornetta knows it, so don't give me that. Cornetta knows the business. He was an agent. If anybody knows the business, he knows it. And that doesn't make any sense to me. None of this makes any sense. Outside of, before the season started, Miguel Ángel Ramírez lobbed a bomb really in Zoran Krneta's direction.
Mm-hmm.
And now one person is still with the club and one person isn't. And it's not because of the results. So you do the math. It's not about Tepper, in my opinion, outside of why are all these people leaving and why is, I don't know, maybe an incompetent American football coach and possibly an incompetent sporting director. Why are they staying? Yeah. But no, Tepper, because Matt Rule has players he wants to get to, and I'm sure he says something. It's not like he sits there meekly like, no, I don't need a guard. No, I don't need a tackle. No. Well, just give me whatever. Just no. I'm not gonna say I need something. No, come on.
And then also Rule works. Well, once again, Rule is not like Miguel Ángel Ramírez, where he's going to say things like Miguel Ángel Ramírez did beginning of the season. Matt Rule's happy to have his gig.
Well, yeah, because one's a good coach and one's not.
Yeah,
and one actually has bigger ambitions, or at least ambitions to keep doing this when he's not there. So I absolutely think Ramírez knew what he was saying at the beginning. He didn't just say it because he's popping off. He said it to protect himself. He said it to make sure it's known, hey, if this doesn't go well, it ain't me.
Mm-hmm.
And flip side is if it goes well, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he was wrong. It was crazy. It was shocking. It was all of those things. I don't think it was incorrect. And now the only thing to really go on here, we'll get into some comments from the Twitch pitch. The only thing to really go on here is it's Krneta who is still there. Nobody else is. The other people left on their own accord. Might not have anything to do with the team, the sporting director, any of that. Krneta's there. Ramírez is not. And it's not because the results weren't good enough. If that's their statement, that's what it was, because they didn't really say, that's embarrassing. Because he's gotten things out of a roster that is not good and hasn't been good. It's better. It's still got work to do. We'll see. Jarrett, have you found anything in Charlotte circles about this?
No, I haven't. All I've seen is just on the Twitch pitch, Matt Rule catching strays, which makes sense.
Not about strays. I mean,
Matt Rule wasn't part of this. Matt Rule's sitting off to the side watching this happen. Like
paychecks come from the same place.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, they fired 2019 legend Joe Brady last year, and that really felt like hey, we're firing Joe Brady as your last resort, Matt Rule, before we fire you.
So they didn't fire him. They fired Miguel Ángel Ramírez not even halfway through his first season. Matt Rule's won 10 games in 2 years. He's still there.
Mm-hmm. I know. No, I haven't really found anything about this. I mean, I'm still kind of flummoxed by all of it. We have 2 weeks to wait because of the stupid international window.
It's not going to be 2 weeks. There's going to be plenty talked about.
Well, we have 2 weeks to wait for games. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but there's gonna be plenty to talk about, because
I just wonder how long it's going to take Charlotte FC to have their first press conference about this.
I don't care what they have to say. I want to hear what Ramírez has to say. I could care less how Charlotte spends it. I mean, it's going to be Krneta who's going to speak, and I mean, unless he loses his cool or whatever. But I mean, just you skim through the reactions, like incredibly bizarre decision from Sam Stejskal. Felipe Cardenas, there will certainly be more to come on Miguel Ángel Ramírez's shock firing. I mean, you can go through everybody's reaction. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw it happening. Charlotte people, what the hell's happening with Tepper Sports? I mean, come on. Twelman, too much change this early, especially with a team in Charlotte FC that had a clean slate. It's just none of it makes any sense. So let's get into some comments from the Twitch pitch, and we'll bounce around to some other news as well. Try to get at some of the soccer over there stuff we did not get to yesterday. We're not going to do picks of the week. We're not really going to. There's too much going on. Picks of the week will be suspended until next week, and we'll talk about everything then. So sorry, everybody who gets really serious about picks of the week. It'll be next week. There's not a ton of games this week anyway, so it buys us a week. But what do we have on the Twitch pitch?
Turner's asking, how many coaches have been fired in an expansion team's first year?
It's a good question. I don't
Cincinnati,
know off the top of my head. We can figure this out together. Let's see.
Cincinnati fired theirs.
Hold on. We're going to go all the way.
You're going all the way back.
All the way back.
He's getting in the Wayback Machine.
Chicago did not because they won MLS Cup. Miami, did they fire their manager in their first year? They did.
Fusion?
They did. Yes.
Miami Fusion discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I said making sure.
I said Chicago and I said Miami. I maybe should have been clear, but I thought it was in 1998 Miami. Carlos Cordoba was fired on July 24th. How many games in was he? That would be an interesting. Well, let me see if they say. They were not good. 19. He got more. He got more games. And actually, I think they made the playoffs that year too. So they weren't great, but they weren't. They fired their coach after 19 games. Chicago did not. Then we get into Chivas USA and Real Salt Lake in 2005. MLS history lessons are fun. Chivas USA, yes, they did. Thomas Rongen was fired on May 30th of their first year.
A sign of more things to come for Chivas.
Well, they were 1-8-1 at that point. So he did not get as many games, but he only had one win, and that was against fellow expansion team Real Salt Lake. So, okay, there's one. Real Salt Lake did not fire their – oh, no, wait, this they did. Yes, they did, because Christ took it a little bit into the first year. He was on the field. Then he retired. Who was the first coach? John Ellinger was the first coach. No, he didn't even make it through the first year. He got into 2007. Jeez. Christ got all the way to 2007 with them as a player. Then he became the coach. So, okay, Real Salt Lake did not. We've got one so far. Dynamo's not an expansion team. Toronto. Oh, they went through some managers. Did they go through one in the first year? Nope. Mo Johnston got through the whole first year. He only won 6 games in 30. Ramirez has 5 wins so far.
And half that.
He's done, but yeah. Mo, 6-17-7, Mo Johnston. He did not make it to year 2, but he did get through year 1. San Jose's revival, the expansion Quakes of 2008. Did their manager get through year 1? The history of San Jose is a little complicated because they were there, they were the Clash, then they were the Quakes, then they moved to Houston, and they got the team back. Frank Yallop did get through year 1. He actually got through for quite a while. So Yallop lasted. Seattle, Siggy lasted. Philadelphia, Peter Novak. Did he get through the first year? I think he did. He did. He got into 2012 after starting in 2010. Vancouver and Portland, I think they both did. No, Vancouver did not. It was Teitur Thordarson, an Icelandic manager who was fired on May 30th in 2011. And did they give me a record of where they were when he was fired? He had come up from the second division Whitecaps that moved up. He got through 12 games, and they had only won 1 of their first 12, and he was fired. Okay, again, 5 wins for Charlotte. The 2 managers that we have had who were fired won 1 game in 10 and 12. That's your comparison. Portland in MLS expansion history. John Spencer got into year 2 before he was fired. Montreal fired Jesse Marsh after the first year. He got through the whole first year. That was actually a little surprising. They fired him because they weren't that bad. Jason Christ got through the whole first year in New York. Adrian Heath got through the first year in Orlando. Dr. Martino and then Adrian Heath got through the first years in 2017. Adrian Heath still going. Yeah. Bob Bradley, LAFC, yes. Cincinnati. They've had so many weird coaching situations.
They brought
I've got to
a coach
remember.
from USL, if I'm not mistaken.
Alan Koch was fired on May 7th, so he did not survive the first year. Do we have the information on that? He won 2 games in 11. They were 2-7-2. Again, Miguel Ángel Ramírez, 5 wins. Miami did not fire their coach in their first year. Nashville did not fire their coach in their first year. Austin did not fire their coach in their first year. So
it's Koch with 11.
It's Koch, 2 wins in 11.
Okay.
It's Rongen, 1 win in 10.
Okay.
And then what was the other one? Thordarson with 1 win in 12. 12 or 13. I think 12.
12.
Yeah. Those are your 3. There's your research for the day. All of them combined did not win as many games as Miguel Ángel Ramírez, who was fired after 14.
Miguel Ángel Ramírez won as many games in 14 games as Atlanta United did in 2017 with a roster build that was not as complete.
Yeah, I mean, Opta had it. Like with where they are, they were 6th out of the 13 the last 13 expansion teams. They were 6th in terms of record. It's shocking. What else we got on the Twitch pitch?
Other than general disbelief, and
I'm sure there's been more than just that out of the 392 comments on the Twitch pitch since we started.
No question. Michael Head, Charlotte will not find a better coach. Mark my words.
It's going to be hard. I mean, I don't think Miguel Ángel Ramírez is the best coach in the history of the planet, but he is very good, and it's going to be hard to get better in that position. They might get somebody who's quieter, but that doesn't necessarily make them better. And if that's what it is, well, then there's some people who need to look in the mirror about why they're in this, because I don't think he was wrong in what he said, and I also think he was protecting himself. What else we got?
Knicks. If I was a Charlotte fan, God forbid, I'd be pissed, and there are several S's in there.
Seems like that's the general reaction from the Charlotte faithful at this point. Anger and confusion. Update, Zoran Cornetta will speak today at 3:00. That'll be fun.
Yeah, buddy.
3:00.
Oh.
Mark your clocks.
I'm going to need a drink.
Yeah. Richard Fleming, broadcaster for Colorado Rapids, one of the good guys around the league. He said, is that right? In the space of 3 months, Tom Glick, Nick Kelly, and now head coach Miguel Ángel Ramírez at Charlotte FC?
Check.
That would be correct, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
This is chaos. Yeah. So update at 3:00 from Zoran Cornetta, and that will be fascinating.
Turner, unless you're trying to get Potch or someone big after they're fired in December, this makes no sense.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. Nope.
Michael Valverde, there must be some very unsavory underpinnings to firing Ramírez. Can't imagine a logical reason outside something coming to light. It's truly insane for any other reason.
I mean, I can't think of anything that makes sense here. Is he a demanding coach? Yeah, he's a demanding coach. As I've said, like, are some people probably not as big as fans? Yeah, you can look at the guys who are on the roster who aren't playing, and you can probably assume that those guys aren't happy. But that's pro sports. That's sports. That happens. Like, I don't think you can make a move because of that. I don't think that's it, outside of trying to justify it. I can't buy into anything outside of, I mean, unless it's a real shock of like something happened, like an incident. Without knowing that, the only thing that makes sense here is Zoran Cornetta was mad. Maybe David Tepper's mad because of what he said at the beginning, and they didn't fire him then, and they've let him go now. I don't know what's changed because his tone has changed. it's been different. So I have no idea. I got nothing outside of people being angry about people being vocal. And if that's what it is, going back to a comment from February, then yeah, you need to maybe get thicker skin in that.
I'll say get soft.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can be mad about it, but like, and it's
and I'm sure they were, and I'm sure they addressed it. I mean,
yeah.
You had to.
But winning cures a lot of ills in life, so it makes me think that it wasn't. It was a log on the fire, not just the fire itself.
Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. 3:00, maybe we'll get some answers from Zorn Cornetta.
Sean Vergara is asking for a watch along at 3:00.
I don't know if I need to watch along of that because I might need to bleep myself. Go ahead.
Tafka, Ramirez was the only thing they did 100% right as far as on-field product, and they fire him. What a dumpster fire of a front office.
No, I've been really hard on him, but you got to give him credit on the Kalina scouting job. That was a very good signing. I give him a lot of credit on Guzman Corujo as well. I like Corujo. He's going to be a good center back in this league. He's a guy that I wonder what he's feeling right now. Those are the two that really stood out to me that were a little bit of a surprise. I mean, Corujo, coming from Nacional in Uruguay, it's a good pedigree, but he's been better than I expected. And I had a decent expectation of him. The rest of it, I mean, guys have been about what I would have expected. Brant Bronico has been better, but I thought Brant Bronico was a guy who just never got a great opportunity in Chicago. So, okay. Swiderski's been probably about what you would have expected. He had that little hot streak, but when you get the totality of him, it's about what you could have expected. Ramirez got things out of a team that was not complete. He did the best job of any of those. I will give him a lot of credit on Corujo and Kalina especially, but I don't know why you're firing your coach when you didn't give him enough to work with to begin with, and he still got something out of it.
Sam Williamson also mentions Ben Bender. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give a ton of credit there because it's the first pick in the draft, and he was the best player available according to most reports. I mean, it was kind of a duh. They didn't screw it up. I mean, I'll give them that, which we've seen. Hi, Minnesota. But they took the guy they should have taken. So I can't give them extra credit for that one.
I mean, if we're going to talk super draft with Minnesota, like Abu Danladi was viewed at the time as being a very big boomer bust. Like,
yeah, it was a stretch to take him at 1, though.
It was a stretch to take him at 1, but it kind of felt like one of those that if it works, it's going to look like a brilliant decision, and it didn't.
But you can criticize that. What I'm saying.
Oh yeah, you can absolutely criticize it. I can see where I can see why they decided to take the risk. But when you do stuff like that, you do open yourself up to criticism. I understand why they thought they should have done it. Should they have been more pragmatic at the pick? Maybe go with a Jeremy Abobasi. Maybe go with Miles Robinson because you shipped the most goals in league history. I don't know. Who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Lewis was number 3. He's done more than Abu Danladi. So is Abobasi. Lalas
Jack
Abubakar
Elliott was taken
5.
deep in that draft.
Jackson Ewell. Yeah, Jack Elliott was a 4th round pick. Nobody was taking him first.
No, that's one of the more awesome recent picks, though. Recent stories, excuse me, from a deep draft pick making it work.
It's the most awesome one for sure. But yeah, that's a bad pick. They screwed up the first pick. They did not take the consensus best player available. They went risk. Charlotte took the best player that was there, and it's paid off. Bender's a nice player. I like him.
Coco, did Ramirez maybe want too much control?
I mean, we don't know. Like, I haven't heard any of that. Like that's where I'm always very careful in trying to, when we have these conversations, like separate speculation from what we've heard. I have not heard anything like that. So I can't speculate to that. That doesn't make sense because he was hired by Zorn Cornetta and by Nick Kelly. Like, so he knew the situation going in. That hasn't changed. Maybe the people above Cornetta have, but he knew he was going to be working with Zoran Krneta. So it's not like he came in and didn't get what he expected. So if that's the case, then that's on him. That's on Miguel. It doesn't make any sense, though.
PD. MAR could be the first coach of the year who also got fired, honestly.
No, I mean, he's been good.
Not at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't been to that level. He's been good.
And then when Coco follows up, so when Charlotte drops to win the Wooden Spoon, does MAR win Coach of the Year?
Then maybe that's the case.
I'm about to say. I don't know. I made the comment the other day that if Atlanta hosts a playoff game, you might need to consider Gonzalo Pineda for that. Considering as much as they've lost this year.
100% you would. Yeah. I mean, if Atlanta gets to a top 4 seed in the East with all of the man hours
everyone's dying left and right.
Grief. Yeah. What else on the Twitch pitch?
Let's see. Coco, again, does Tepper want this to be NFL style? Like coaches only coach, GMs are only roster building. I can see that being a tension.
Again, this is why, John, I tried to shut that down. That's not how it works. And there's nothing to go on with that. Nothing. I think it is a safe bit of speculation to say that people weren't happy with what Miguel Ángel Ramírez said before the season started. And those people would be the people above him. That's pretty safe. But no, like, and that is even BS when it comes to the NFL side. I mean, coaches ask for things. They have conversations with their general managers, right?
Yep.
They don't just lock the coach in a film room and say, no, you can't say anything. No, you shut your mouth. I don't want to hear anything from you. No, that's not how it works. So, I mean, even there, like, you have it. And here, it's no, like, there's nothing to go on with that. The only things you have to go on, and that's why this is so ridiculous. The only things you have to go on are Miguel Ángel Ramírez said something very bold before the season started about the roster not being very good and them being blanked, screwed, whatever. That's public. That's there. We know that happened. We saw it. Outside of that, we have nothing because the results have not been bad enough to make a change. If that's what they're going to say, then that's crazy expectation with the roster they built. Crazy. Beyond that, there's nothing unless Krneta drops some bombs today because none of the rest of it makes any sense. Anything beyond Ramírez said something bold at the beginning of the season and it upset people. That's all we know. I'm assuming it upset people. I mean, I think if you got called out like that you'd be upset. But that's it.
Couple along the same line, starting with Katie Weaver. Will Ramírez even want to bother with MLS again if another job opens? Thought he was good in the league.
He doesn't. I mean, it's not about that. Like, if a good job opens up, he'll take a good job. It's not an MLS thing. No other MLS team has acted like Charlotte since they came into the league. Sorry. They just haven't. No other MLS team has had the amount of upheaval at the top that Charlotte has had since they came into the league. Nobody. I got nothing. I mean, Chivas USA was insane, but it wasn't like this insane. Not until much later, at least. No, like and there's not a job that would make sense. No, he wouldn't take San Jose because he knows what San Jose is. They're not going to spend it.
They're not going to spend the money.
Yeah, I mean, if Minnesota came calling,
yeah,
that's the one we were talking about in the Discord. Is like somebody put Inchy in an ice shack for a couple of days, tell him to go out and catch some fish, and make a phone call and say, "Hey, man, we'll clear up. You know what? Give us a little time. We'll clean up, get some of these DPs off the roster that aren't playing, and
he'd still get something out of it. No, I mean, he could walk in there tomorrow and get more out of that roster than Adrian.
Oh, I know.
And he'd have resources to work with.
Oh, I know, but that's part of my pitch to him is. Come in here, work with what I got because what I got ain't bad. Because you have one of the most dynamic players in Reynoso in the middle of that system. Come do your thing. We'll start cleaning. You and I can start cleaning this up as soon as you get here, and we can mold it more in your image as we go.
If Ramírez was the person to say, "Oh, I'm not going to work in MLS because this team did this to me," then that's on him being lame. I don't get that sense. If Minnesota came calling tomorrow, I almost get the sense from Ramirez that he would take it just to stick it to Charlotte.
Yeah.
God, he would try and drop 7 goals on Charlotte when they played just out of spite.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect, Tommy. If I'm a manager from outside the United States, why the heck would I take a job in MLS? The league is structured entirely different from the rest of the world.
Plenty have. So hey,
the check always clears.
Yeah, I mean that's one big reason why you take it. Like I think when crazy moves happen, we do this thing about it's MLS. No, it's Charlotte. This is Charlotte. This has nothing to do with MLS. I haven't seen anybody else act this way. The firings that we went through of other expansion teams, they're all warranted. This is not. This is on Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the league's structured differently, but if I'm a manager like a Miguel Ángel Ramírez, if I was a manager like Tata Martino, if I'm a manager like Gonzalo Pineda, if I'm a manager like a real philosophical soccer guy who thinks they know what they're doing, thinks they know what they're talking about, has a plan, and they want to see if they can actually do as well as they think they can do, MLS is an even better spot to do that in because you don't have the ability to just outspend everybody. You got to coach. You got to really coach. It's not for everybody. It's not. But there are plenty of managers who I think like it and would come to it and would work here. And it's only going to get more enticing when there are more eyeballs and more money and more exposure. Like, I think that's going to go up, not down. I think this move has nothing to do with MLS's structure. And that's why, again, I go back to what I was saying earlier. It is pure, unfounded speculation that Miguel Ángel Ramírez asked for things from Zoran Krneta and didn't get them. And Zoran Krneta or David Tepper said, no, you have to shut your mouth and sit down and be quiet. Don't ask me for players. I'm not working with you anymore. There's nothing to go on with that until Krneta says it. And if he says it, then sure, we'll go back to this conversation. And then you're still talking about Zoran Krneta. You're not talking about MLS rules. Still, then it's on Zoran Krneta. Then it's on David Tepper. Right now, the only thing we know is he called out the roster build to begin with. And coaches around the world have talked about not getting what they want at times. Jose Mourinho's kind of legendary for it.
You know why? Because it works.
Usually it does. In this case, it didn't. It got him fired maybe because there's nothing else. Yeah. No, I mean, again, like we said when it happened, like he had to protect his own reputation and he had to also kind of reset expectations with not having a lot to work with. And it worked out in his favor because people are going to look at what he did and say, wow, you got that out of that? And you showed some versatility in the way that you structure a team. Yeah, we'll hire you.
If I may, because like the reason I say that is, of course you're going to say something because again, sometimes it works and you end up getting what you need out of it. You end up getting the pieces. And if you don't say anything and then you get fired, if you walk in and say, oh, well, at the press conference, or you're talking to a journalist over a cup of coffee, oh, well, they didn't give me everything I wanted. Well, why didn't you say anything then? Because that becomes the next question. So of course you're going to say something to try and get what you need.
Could he have done it more tactfully? Sure. He could have, but it's
kind of who he is.
Exactly. I mean, if that is what it came down to, and that's the only thing that we know publicly that there was a spat, that's it. If that is what it came down to, and he's fired 3 months later, then that's on Charlotte way more than anything else. But I'm not buying the MLS rules or MLS structure or now Ramirez is going to be biased against MLS. I'm not buying any of that. He's going to be biased against Charlotte because he should be, because they fired him and they shouldn't have. That's barring something that we don't know about, barring an incident that we don't know about, barring something behind the scenes that we don't know about, where it was completely out of hand or there was some huge problem. If this is personality clashes, if this is not liking a manager who was outspoken 3 months ago about the roster build, if this is any of that, then they backed the wrong people. If there's something else to it, then we'll have a different conversation tomorrow about it. But I haven't heard about anything else. And it doesn't mean it's not there, but nothing has gotten out about anything else involving Charlotte. So I don't know.
Tofka, Charlotte just went from a second season contender to a bottom dweller for years to come. I'm not happy about it because it's going to hurt them in attendance, interest, and fan loyalty.
Maybe. I mean, because look, it happens everywhere. If fans are going to not turn out because they don't win the title in the second year, well, then the fans might need to learn a little more about the league. Just like if fans don't turn out because the team doesn't win every game they play, they might need to learn a little more about the league. Like that part of it's got to stop. Now, if they don't turn out because of, well, this person's gone and this person's gone and this person's gone and what's going on, and they don't get answers, then that's a different conversation. If it's purely results in that situation of the second year, what Atlanta did is not normal. I mean, you can't always frame things that way. I think in Ramirez's case, if he had progressed with more talent to work with, which they've added, and he had them, I would not have put them as a title contender next year with what they have now, and we'll have to see what other moves they make. They're not a title contending team anywhere near it right now, and so they're not going to have a whole lot of extra space to go add a bunch of players that would make them title contenders, by the way. So I wouldn't put them in that. But if Charlotte's going to get interesting just because of what they do next, that's more of the question. I do want to see what the reaction is from the fan base, because I thought it was very positive towards Miguel Ángel Ramírez, and it should have been. And if now there is a reaction against this move, then that's a different conversation, to Tofka's point. If it's just because they're not a title contender next year, that's not a fair expectation every year. It's just not. And they're not close right now. They're just not. I mean, Atlanta going into 2018 was not a title contender realistically. I don't think. I don't remember that being the vibe. Playoff team, very good team. All those things were real, but a title contender going into year two? I think for LAFC, it became a little more of the conversation going into year two because Atlanta just did it, but I don't even think LAFC after year one was looked at as a title contender in year two. And if it's just getting into a playoff contender, then that's reasonable for almost everybody in the league.
Emilio is asking, are South American managers going to be blacklisted now by MLS?
Why? I don't get it. Again, John, this is why I said what I said earlier about this. There is nothing right now to go on that Miguel Ángel Ramírez did something wrong. So why would South American managers be blacklisted? This is why you do have to wait until there's more information on things. There's nothing to go on outside of him being vocal before the season started, commenting factually about a bad roster build. That's all that there is. So unless, again, if he did something wrong, then he might be blacklisted. But no. He doesn't speak for every South American manager. He's not even from South America, by the way. He's from Spain. He worked in South America, but he doesn't speak for every manager that worked in South America. They're not all like him. Majority probably aren't like him. So, just like players from one country, not every player's like that. No, that's not the case. But the bigger picture with this is that there is nothing to indicate publicly that Miguel Ángel Ramírez did something wrong to warrant being fired. Nothing. It's not results. There's nothing outside of, again, something from 3 months ago. So I don't know. But that's why I was trying to stop the conversation of Ramírez did something wrong, that's why he got fired, because nobody said that, and there's nothing to go on with that. So I don't know.
It's all speculation. It is exhausting. I mean, because
be careful about jumping to conclusions from nothing. And that's the one thing I keep trying to say. What we know publicly is he said something 3 months ago. He won 5 games. He did better than expected, and now he's been fired.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
Petey says this news is exactly what Atlanta supporters need to remind us how good we have it in Atlanta.
100% it should be. I would hope. I would hope, because as we went through yesterday, it's not easy to do what Atlanta's done in 5 years and 14 games. There's only 4 teams that have done it better in points per game, which is the bigger test of everything. A playoff is a playoff. You won it one time, and you got really close. You got to a semifinal essentially another time, and you got an Open Cup to go along with it. Nobody's won more than one title in the 5 years and 14 games that have happened since Atlanta joined the league. It's not easy. And Charlotte, honestly, is, again, better than you would have expected, and they still made this move, which makes no sense.
Yeah. Asking for resubmissions here. Folks had, Sam Williamson has a question about Atlanta United, and we don't know the answer to it yet. Injury update on Ronald Hernandez. Haven't heard anything.
Yeah, they're on vacation, so I haven't heard anything. I would assume Ronald's not going to join the Venezuela national team. I have not seen anything official on that. I could have missed it, but I have not heard an update.
And so seriously, a lot of folks are having conversations with each other about what's going on in Charlotte, and it's pretty much the same stuff that we're seeing across the board. Just a lot of disbelief and stuff that we've been talking about this morning with crazy structures and systems and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of the topics that we've already talked about.
There's no crazy structure. There's no crazy system. Charlotte has just not kept people. Period. That's the crazy. They weren't structured weird. The sporting director manager situation is not weird. It's typical for every team in the league but Kansas City and New England. And you're talking about 2 veterans of veterans that are in those roles.
Yeah, so there's more exceptions in the rules.
Well, that's why 2 of 28. There's nothing structurally about how it was built. The question about Charlotte is, why did Glick leave? Why did Kelly bump up into that role and then leave very quietly? Why did Nichols leave? There were comments around that from both sides of it. Why did the director of marketing communications leave right after it started? And those are leaving. Those were all positioned as the individual leaving the organization of their own accord. And why was Miguel Ángel Ramírez fired? For what exactly? The comment that was given in the press release this morning is very vague. Charlotte was built, honestly, in a lot of ways. After watching what Atlanta did, they tried to replicate a lot of it. They actually tried to hire a lot of people to do that. They got the academy started early. They've done some good things in that regard. Nichols had a big hand in that, reportedly. They did a great job with the opener, with season tickets. Everybody questioned them about season tickets. Well, they did very well with season tickets. So those questions, that apology should have been pretty loud. Of course it wasn't. They've done very well with drawing since in the 31,000 or so capacity. Done very well with that. The questions are twofold, and they're pretty simple. Why did so many top executives in Tepper Sports who had a hand in the soccer side choose to leave the organization? And why was Miguel Ángel Ramírez fired? That's it. The way they built the team is like you'd build a soccer team. Just a lot of the people who were involved in building it are no longer there. And that's strange.
Turner's asking about local Charlotte reporters to follow for potential updates.
I don't know where you're going to get them, essentially, because right now, again, everything publicly, there's nothing to go on. You probably, from maybe a little more of the under the radar side, you want to follow, I think it's Top Bin 90.
Yeah.
is a really good one. You want to follow, there was one more. I mean, the ones that Ashley Mahoney, Mahoney with underscores between the letters, not after the Y at the end. That's a big one. There was one more that I wanted to tell you to follow, and I cannot find it again. Top Bin 90 is the one for sure, and they're probably going to share a lot of the others. So Blue Crown Soccer, that's what it was. Sorry. And it's at Blue Crown Soccer. Make sure you're following them. They might give you a little more of the scuttlebutt because that's what you're looking for right now because the public stuff doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Byrne is adding Alex Andrzejewicz from the Charlotte Observer as well.
Yeah, for now. Leaving here shortly, though. So that's not a long-term one. But right now, yes.
Coco says, we joked about people thinking the season's done for Atlanta. Is Tepper saying his is done?
I mean, essentially. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they're saying because I don't know what they've really said in this realm from the beginning because people who were involved in building it chose to leave. That's just that's the one I keep coming back to along with the decision to do this. I just keep looking at the one who is still there in Zoran Krneta, and I really wonder what the thought process is because I'm not buying that David Tepper is not happy about the style of play, and he made a decision to fire Ramirez, and Krneta is just like, okay, whatever you say, boss. That does not seem very likely. It seems like it would be more of Krneta having to sell Tepper on firing the manager that you hired not that long ago to much acclaim. And why would you do that? Because there's nothing that we have seen. Again, we don't see training sessions. We haven't heard any complaints. We don't know any of that. There will probably be things on both sides of it that will come out. But there is nothing publicly to understand why the manager would be fired. So, I don't know.
And like I said, we've pretty much caught up on everybody, especially after resubmissions. There has been a lot of conversation amongst everyone in the Twitch pitch today about what's been going on.
Yeah, I don't know. So a couple of things again, and this is speculation. So this has been sent my way. Couple of things that are being said. Of course, there are some people who did not like Miguel Ángel Ramírez in the playing squad. Like I said, players who are not playing generally are not going to be very happy. Look at who's getting playing time and who's not. That's probably an obvious one. Look at who was probably expecting to get playing time and who might not be getting playing time and who might not have been happy about that. Those are people who are probably good with this move. That's fine. There's some questions about PR, and yeah, Ramirez definitely is a little bit of a self-promoter. Okay. You knew that coming in. That's not a surprise. If they didn't know that, then they didn't do their homework. So I don't know about that. The roster is not good enough. I do have to disagree with a little bit of the comments coming in here. The roster is not good. It's better than it was, but the roster is not good. And he had I think the manager had absolutely every right to be frustrated with the roster before the season started. 100%. You are going to hear from players this week, probably from the team officially, and you might hear from players through other sources as well. Pay attention to who's talking and pay attention to how much playing time they've had. And I think you're going to get some answers there. I'm really curious to see how Krneta spends it. I'm fascinated to see how Krneta spends it because the spin so far has been, what in the bluest of blue hells did you just do? So how are you going to make that work, even if there are players who were disgruntled? And again, Of course there's players disgruntled. There's always players disgruntled in every team. Go to Manchester City right now. There's players disgruntled. The ones who aren't playing. That's what happens. Go to Liverpool. Mo Salah's been disgruntled.
Mm-hmm.
He's been pretty public about being disgruntled. And he's got nothing much to be disgruntled about it, except his contract situation. Guys who aren't playing, disgruntled. So I can't buy that, there's players disgruntled. Yes, welcome to pro sports. And the results don't back it up. We had a little bit of this conversation when Gabriel Heinze was let go. The results were different in that conversation. And there were other things. If there are other things, which nobody's come up with anything yet, if there were other things along that realm, okay, but the results don't back it up. Like, if somebody's difficult to deal with, okay, they don't like that he's a self-promoter. Let's go there. They don't like that, Miguel Ángel Ramírez is about Miguel Ángel Ramírez. Well, one, they didn't do their homework when they hired him. And two, he's gotten better results than anybody expected. So you can't really sell that that's your complaint, If the results were bad and he's a self-promoter and you don't like that, yep, you can use that as justification. You can use that. I don't know. I really feel like the story here is going to be a clash between Zoran Krneta and Miguel Ángel Ramírez, and Krneta won. Because I can't see anything else that makes sense unless there is a big thing that we don't know about. Like, again, an incident, a dust up, an argument, like something like that we don't know about. Because everything that is rumbling points to Krneta not being happy. Probably started with being called out. And he got the opportunity to sell the owner on making this call. And he did. So I don't know if that's the right move to go forward with. But that's going to be the ultimate thing, is do they get better? I'm not so sure they do, but maybe they do. And maybe Ramírez was actually holding them back, which would be to the shock of pretty much everybody who covers soccer in the United States. And we can all be shocked. But yeah, I'm not buying it. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there will be more after Krneta's press conference today. We'll have plenty to talk about tomorrow. Hoping to have Mike Conti on tomorrow. Should be good for that, but if schedules change, we'll let you know. We will have stoppage time tomorrow, and then the Twos are in action tomorrow night in Kennesaw, Fifth Third Bank Stadium. It is Rio Grande Valley coming to town. A lot of new faces with RGV. But we'll talk about the Twos game. We'll talk about what to expect. I'm expecting to see Rocco Rios Novo in that game tomorrow. Would love to see him get a game because he hasn't yet, and this is kind of the perfect time to do it. So that could be one of the stories. Maybe some of the other guys who have not taken a little bit of a break. And then the Twos build on a good performance. I thought they played really well against Orange County, especially defensively. I thought Nelson Orji and Noah Cobb were both great. And with another injury on the back line, well, yeah, as we talked about yesterday, if you shift the personnel around, you shift the shape around a little bit, you might need one or both of those center backs to come up and provide some extra depth. And they both looked up for it on Friday night. I thought they were both really good against Orange County.
We talked about it on the Twos review that, after talking, Nelson Orji was one of the players who came and spoke with the media. Bless his heart, because he was too nice to ask for a chair as he was about to fall over from exhaustion. So got him a chair, and he's like, "Do you mind if I sit?" Like, no, please.
Yes.
I don't want to be here when you die. He's, by all accounts, has done everything right since he's gotten there, on field, off the field, interacting with guys, getting to know everybody, building that chemistry, and everyone seems very impressed with him being able to come in and do the work.
Yeah, he's gotten better and better. I thought he was great. I thought Cobb was great. I thought McFadden playing a more defensive role in this one, just the way the game played out, was great. So we'll talk Tuesday tomorrow. We'll talk with Mike. We'll definitely be talking more Charlotte. I'll end with this at 10 bonus, which is another account you probably want to follow on Charlotte stuff. Periodista Charlotte FC. So Spanish language coverage of Charlotte. Said it's and translated, it's obvious the decision goes beyond football results, but a new phrase for you to keep in mind. Una piedra en el zapato. Ramirez was always a stone in the shoe for many interests within the club. And yes, again, when he comes out and says what he said before the season, that was pretty clear that he was that pebble in your shoe that will drive you nuts. But man, it's going to be hard to justify it, even if that's the case with the results that he got. We'll see how Zoran Cornetta spends it at 3:00, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Crazy day today. We'll get caught up in everything else tomorrow as well. We'll get set for the finalissima. That is tomorrow as well. See you tomorrow. Much platial.
Much platial.
Much platial.
Finalissima.